Hey lovelies! Of course, we all adore fancy French desserts like chocolate souffle, creme brulee, and clafoutis, but the truth is they can be a bit intimidating to home cooks. So today I've teamed up with Ancestry.ca to show you that these 3 decadent desserts are actually easier than you might think to make and perfect for your holiday entertaining. Now, all 3 of these delicious recipes have been inspired by my results from my own Ancestry DNA test, which revealed that I am actually 100% French. Now, with a last name like Cauchon, it's no surprise that I come from a French background, but what I found really fascinating was that my ancestors actually migrated here from France to New Brunswick and New England in the 1700s. And they obviously didn't stray too far because my mom is actually from New Brunswick and my dad is originally from New England. I absolutely cannot wait to share these results with my grandfather this Christmas. He is a total history buff, and I know he's going to find this as interesting as I do. Needless to say, the Ancestry DNA kit is now at the very top of my holiday giving list this year, and the test itself is super simple to take. All you do is sign up online and then provide your DNA sample by spitting into a tube, which I'll admit is not as delicious as dessert. Then you just ship it off to be analyzed with all the shipping covered. The best part is I've got 3 Ancestry DNA kits to give away to you guys today, so stay tuned to the end of the video for all the details on how you can win. Now, since family and food are so connected for me, especially with a little one on the way, it only seemed fitting that I share 3 recipes inspired by my French heritage. So without further ado, let's get to some fancy French desserts, starting with one of my all-time favorites, creamy, dreamy creme brulee. Now, creme brulee only has a total of 5 ingredients, but it's really more about method than anything else. So I'm gonna show you a foolproof way to get it right every time. We're gonna start by heating up some cream on the stove over medium heat just until it starts to simmer. To add some much needed flavor to this, I'm also going to be adding the seeds from 1 vanilla bean. It's really important that you don't overheat your cream here. The moment you start to see bubbles start breaking around the edges of your pan, you know it's ready to come off the heat. I'm just going to put a lid on this and allow the temperature to reduce a little bit. What we're ultimately looking for is for the cream to be 160 to 165 degrees Fahrenheit on a thermometer. While our cream is just cooling slightly, we are going to turn our attention to our other 3 ingredients. So I've got 4 egg yolks in my bowl. To that, I am going to add my sugar like so, and just a little pinch of kosher salt. I'm going to whisk this mixture together really well, and then as soon as my cream has reached a temperature of about 165 degrees Fahrenheit, we are ready to start adding it into our eggs. Now, the only way to prevent your eggs from scrambling when you add your warm cream is to use a method called tempering. To temper something means that you're basically going to slowly add your hot liquid into your cooler mixture so that you bring the temperature up gradually. It's a good sign when you see that your eggs are staying smooth. That means it's working. Once you're confident that your egg mixture is properly tempered, you can go ahead and just add the rest of your cream right into the mixture, and then we will whisk gently for just about 10 seconds. Once our mixture is well combined, the final step is just going to be pouring it through a sieve like this. You just want to make sure that any solids or lumps or chunks are getting caught in the sieve and not in your custard. You want your custard to be silky smooth, and this is the best way to achieve that. Once our mixture has been strained, we can go ahead and start transferring it into our ramekins. Another important step is to make sure your ramekins are arranged in either a high-sided baking sheet like this or in a baking dish, because what we're going to do is fill this with some boiling water before getting it into the oven. This is going to help everything cook nice and gently and evenly. I've got my oven preheated to just 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Low and slow is the secret when you are dealing with a custard. I'm going to get these into the oven and then cook them until they reach an internal temperature of 150 to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, I have taken these out, disposed of the water bath, and carefully transferred them to a dish to cool. We're gonna let these cool at room temperature for 30 minutes, and then we're going to get them into the fridge for another hour to 2 hours. Now that my custard has completely chilled, it is time to get our creme brulee on. Now I am doing this today with a kitchen torch. It is very, very important that you use caution when you're using one of these. Obviously it's an open flame. Any open flame comes with some level of danger to it, so be sure to read the instructions and use it safely. To create our nice hard sugar topping, we are going to add about a teaspoon of sugar to the top of each of our custards. Then I'm just going to shake it out, making sure everything is evenly coated. You want your sugar to be in a nice even layer, otherwise it won't get uniformly browned. Okay, the moment of truth. You just want to make sure that your flame is at least 2 to 3 inches away from your sugar topping at any given time so you don't burn any one area, and then just keep your flame moving until you get a nice uniform golden color. I'm not going to pretend that there is not something truly satisfying about getting a perfect crust on one of these guys. These will harden almost immediately and can be served right away. Your guests are going to absolutely adore these. Not only is that custard gorgeous, smooth, sweet, and delicious, that topping is perfectly crunchy and just waiting to be tapped into. You could really say this dessert is the creme de la crop. Next, lovelies, if you really want to show your guests how much you care, might I suggest serving up some homemade chocolate souffle. Do not fret, this is easier than you think and really come together in 3 simple steps. First up, we need to prepare our ramekins. The first thing I want to do is use a little butter with some paper towel, and I'm just going to grease my ramekins liberally. You want to make sure that nothing is going to stick to them. The next step is going to be sugaring the inside of my ramekins. The sugar actually helps to create some traction. So as your souffle is sort of rising out of the dish, it's going to climb onto that sugar and use it to get to the top. Very, very clever. Once that's happened, you can set those aside while we get to work on our chocolate pastry cream. Chocolate pastry cream is actually quite easy to make, but it is important that you be prepared when you get started. If you've ever heard the term mise en place, it's a French cooking concept that means put in place. So the idea is that you have all of your ingredients put in place and ready so that they are within reach when this starts cooking, because you're not going to want to run to the fridge or the pantry to grab something once this is going. So I've got a nice heavy bottom saucepan on the stove. To that, I am going to add 4 egg yolks, some milk, some sugar, some cornstarch for thickening, a little bit of cocoa powder, and a sprinkle of salt. I'll turn my heat to medium and then whisk this mixture together until it's well combined. Now it's really important to continue whisking this mixture for as long as it is on the heat. You do not want it to burn, so it's important not to be checking your text messages or pouring yourself a glass of wine. You really want to focus on this job. We're going to be here for about 6 minutes. It's a really strange sensation because it's actually going to go almost instantly from like a really liquidy texture to a really, really thick one. And that means you are on the right track. Once it's thickened up like this, you basically want to keep stirring it for another 2 minutes on the heat, and then we're going to turn off the heat and add in the rest of our delicious ingredients. I've got some beautiful chocolate here. Now this is unsweetened chocolate that I'm using. I finely chopped it. I'm going to add that into my mixture. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of butter. This is going to help us get a nice glossy finish. And we're also going to add a splash of vanilla extract to this, whisking constantly until that chocolate and that butter has melted completely. And you have this really glossy, gorgeous chocolate pastry cream that, oh my gosh, is so hard not to just eat with a spoon. Am I right? What I've got here is a large mixing bowl placed over another large mixing bowl of ice water. I'm going to transfer my pastry cream into this mixing bowl to help it cool. We'll just give it a stir every few minutes to keep it incorporated, but we want to let it cool for at least 10 minutes while we get to work on our meringue. To do that, I've got 8 egg whites at room temperature in a large mixing bowl, and I'm just going to start beating them on medium speed using a hand mixer. After about 30 seconds or so, they're going to get nice and frothy. That means it's time to add our cream of tartar. Cream of tartar lends a little bit of structure to your egg whites and really helps them get nice and fluffy and stand up on their own. We're going to beat that mixture for another minute to minute and a half until we get soft peaks, and then we know it is time to slowly add in our powdered sugar to this mixture. What we're looking to do is beat this until we have stiff peaks formed, and then we're ready to bring this all together. Now you want to do this 1/3 at a time. We want to help this mixture just loosen up a little bit. The idea here is to not lose all of that gorgeous air that you just beat into those egg whites. So you want to make sure you're folding very gently and as few times as you can, but still getting the mixture incorporated. Once our chocolate mixture is a little looser, we can go ahead and add another 1/3 of our egg white mixture into this. As you can see, the mixture will start to lighten up both in color and in texture. Now at this point, it is time to get transferring this batter into our prepared ramekins. I'm just going to do this with an ice cream scoop. You'll want to fill each ramekin as close to the top as you possibly can. And the final secret to making sure your soufflés get lots of beautiful even lift all the way around is to use your thumb to create just a little ridge around the lip. This is going to allow that batter to rise straight up as opposed to up and out, which sometimes can result in some really yucky messes in your oven. Trust me, I've learned this the hard way. Now I'll be honest, I am resisting the temptation to lick my thumb here. There is still raw egg in this mixture, so it's important not to eat it until it's cooked, but it's kind of hard. It's important that you've preheated your oven to 375 degrees and you've let it heat up for at least 20 minutes. You want to make sure your oven is nice and hot when these go in. You also want to make sure that your rack is at the bottom 1/3 of your oven. Any closer to the top and the tops could burn before your soufflé sets completely. We're going to slide our soufflé into the oven, shut that door, and then we are going to let these cook undisturbed for between 15 and 18 minutes. That is really the sweet spot. As a home cook, nothing is more satisfying than seeing these beauties rise. Once they're cooked through, you want to remove them from the oven, top them with a little powdered sugar immediately, and then serve them while they're still gorgeous and filled with air. Trust me, your guests are going to adore them. They melt in your mouth. They're ooey and creamy and delicious and chocolatey and oh so good, and such an amazing way to celebrate the holidays. My final French dessert today is known as a clafoutis. Today I am making it with cherries, but I've seen it done with plums and mixed berries. There really are quite a few options with this dessert. To make this recipe, you want to start by preparing your tart pan. Now I love this particular tart pan because A, it is non-stick, and B, the bottom actually comes out. So when your dessert is done, you can simply lift it out of the pan and you have this beautiful, perfect dessert. To prepare your pan though, it's really important to butter it liberally, and that way we can prevent our dessert from sticking. Once our tart pan has been prepared, we can set it aside and get to work on our nice big bowl of cherries here. Of course, it's really important when you're making a dessert like this to pit your cherries. There's a couple ways to do this. You can cut them in half and then remove the pit manually, or you can use a handy dandy tool like this. Now this would be an excellent job for the kids. You can give them this tool and basically have them pit all the cherries while you prep the batter. Always nice to have the kids helping out in the kitchen, right? Once all of our cherries are pitted, we are going to turn our attention to mixing up our batter. Now the batter for this dessert is really, really simple. It's actually sort of similar to a pancake or a crepe batter. I'm starting with some eggs in my bowl. To that, I'm going to add some whole milk, a little heavy cream for some richness. I've got some sugar headed in here, a good helping of vanilla extract, and a sprinkle of salt. Then for my flour, I'm actually going to sift my flour in. This is gonna help us get a nice smooth finish in our batter. And once your flour is in your bowl, you can go ahead with your hand mixer and just mix this until it's combined. You wanna beat this mixture for about 5 minutes. It may seem like overkill, but it's gonna help you get a nice velvety texture. At this point, it's time to pour about 1/4 inch of my batter into the bottom of my tart pan and then bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 minutes. We're actually going to be cooking this in 2 different steps to help create a little bit of lift for our cherries. You'll see what I mean in a second. Once it comes out of the oven, you have something like this to work with, so you've created a little base for which your cherries can go on. I'm going to arrange my cherries cut side down all over that surface, and then I'm going to top them with my remaining batter. Back into the oven this mixture goes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for between 35 and 40 minutes or until it is set completely. What you end up with is something that essentially looks like a giant pancake. And we're just going to hit it with some powdered sugar because that's just how we roll. It's snowing, everyone. How festive. And there you go, guys. 3 gorgeous French desserts to inspire you in the kitchen this holiday season. I hope you'll give all 3 of these awesome ideas a try so you can see just how easy they are for yourselves. If you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo because I always love seeing your kitchen creations, especially your holiday ones. And don't forget, guys, I've got 2 Ancestry DNA kits to give away here on YouTube today. All you need to do is leave a comment below letting me know who you think this would make the perfect gift for, and you could win. All the contest details are in the description box below, so you can take a look for them there. I've also got a 3rd kit I'll be giving away on my Instagram account, so if you're not following me already, follow me at The Domestic Geek 1 for details. Plus, if you just want to gift this kit to someone you love, or if you're curious about your own ancestry, Ancestry.ca is offering the kits for just $89 today. That's a savings of $40. The link is below. Finally, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more Christmas deliciousness where this came from.